Well, hey folks, today, well, welcome back, or some kind of intro thing, you get it, right? Anyway, we're on the creek, only got a couple hours, gonna take a few test pans. The reason I came down today, well, one of the reasons is because the water is extremely low right now in my part of New York State, so it affords us the opportunity to get down in those areas that are generally underwater and we can't really get to as easily. So today that's the plan. And we're going to start right over here by my pan. I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's a clay layer that runs up that edge, and we're going to take a couple pans there and a couple spots upstream that looks pretty good to me. And you see this huge gravel bar over here. Look at it. That's because a creek runs down out of there. There actually used to be an old mill back in the 1800s that was fed by that little creek, or one of them here. But anyway, all that gravel is coming out of that creek. We're going to go and look and see how many good hard brown hard rocks are in there, and see if that looks any good, and if so we might take a test out of there, although I don't believe there'll be anything in there. So anyway, let's start taking some test pans. We'll work our way up the creek. I already know that downstream isn't as productive. Of course, this creek isn't really ever productive for me, but we're out here giving it a try. So anyway, we're going to head upstream and take some test pans. Okay, hopefully you'll be able to hear me through the noise of the creek and the highway that's just behind us. But I took the first test pan right from in here. The clay is exposed up here on the edge, and it goes right down underwater. There wasn't barely any material on there other than bigger rocks. And there's just a little tiny bit of black sand, which is not good. If you followed the channel for a while, you know that the more black sand you get, the better chance of getting some gold. So I think here the velocity of the water is too high. When that little creek over there is flooding and all that drainage is coming down, pushing all the current this way and just washing everything right through. So in an area like this, I think we need to get to a spot where the clay is exposed, but there is material on top of it. We might go up in here and maybe find a pan that we can take, and but you don't want to be someplace where there's too much overburden on the clay. There's going to be a fine line there. Maybe not in New York, but that's typical in gold-bearing streams, right? You don't want too much overburden, but you want the gold to come as easily as it can. So let's go up here someplace. I'll kind of dig around with my foot and see where the gravels are adding up a little bit more, and maybe where the bigger stones are. We'll take a test pan from right there. All right, having fun. Okay, our first pan was down there. I moved up to where I thought there'd be more material on top of the clay, like what I was saying earlier, and I landed right here. I dug a bunch of material out of the way, as you can see, to get down to that clay layer. I got just on top of the clay, started getting clay, got just a little bit more black sand out of there, but not very much. It don't look good. So I'm going to move some more overburden off and take one shovel where I'm getting nothing but the stuff that's on top of the clay. So I'll give that a try and see if there's any gold in it. Okay, that pan looked the same. We'll just kick our hole in here. Fill our hole back in, you know the jive. And we'll just continue working upstream and picking out spots that look good or might look good. We'll test them and see. Of course, we'll go up here and see what we can see for hardstone up here in this gravel deposit. Alright, fill this hole in. Well, there was a few hardstone in that gravel deposit, mostly just the country rock, shales and pieces of limestone and sandstone. That's the host rock for this area, and not much material from Canada that's mixed in there. As you know, the glaciers brought the material from Canada, which also brought the gold. But I like to learn as we go. I'm always trying to figure stuff out. I never really do, but I like to at least try to learn. And what I think I learned here is most of this material, which is part of this hillside also, because that creek comes from up in there, that it's not going to have a lot of glacial material in it. This is mostly what I think is referred to as talus. It's just the country rock that's eroded down off the hill. Not that the glaciers didn't bring some of it here and leave it here, but it's just all country rock in the area. One thing I'd like to show you though, there's remains of the old 1800s bridge. The road used to cut right through there. There's still some houses on it, and the new highway is right here, as you can see. Pretty cool, huh? And then you can see where they fortified it later on with concrete. Pretty cool history right there. But anyway, sometimes I get to talking a lot, don't I? We'll keep on moving up and see what we can find. Beautiful weather though. I mean, look at the colors. Amazing. Amazing. Alright, we'll keep moving. I'll quit talking. Okay, we've come upstream. You can see there the beavers are building a dam. That probably won't last long. Maybe through winter though. Anyway, we're going to take a test pan right in here. The reason I chose this spot, that's an outside bend up there, but it's pushing against the current during flood. It's pushing against that, and I know it laps over there. This whole area gets covered with flood water when we get a good flood. But you see this bush here, it's pretty tangly and a lot of branches. It might be enough slowing that water down to drop some stuff in here, so we might check over there on the edge and maybe down in here. I'm more thinking it's going to be up there on the edge. But we'll take a pan there and maybe one in here and one out here further. And then I'm going to go to the head of that little island there and the tail. Just take a couple pans in there. After I do all the pans, I'll let you know the results from every spot instead of filming every single one, you know. Alright, so that's the plan, man. Stay tuned. Okay, I took some test pans from down there behind that bush like I was saying. Some in close to the bank. There was a pretty good amount of black sand down there. Down behind there, I mean not extraordinary, but a pretty good amount. And I took another one right behind, a little more black sand. That could be a spot where we might get a piece of gold out of there. Set up a sluice here in these riffles. Run several buckets just to see if we get a speck. That won't be for today, but we'll keep it in mind for sure. And then we came up here. Try not turning it too fast. And we took some pans in here. We took one over there on the side of that little gravel bar. Good amount of black sand. No gold. Didn't get gold in any of the test pans, but then we took one over on that edge. The clay is pretty shallow and a little bit of black sand. One behind that bush, a little more black sand. One right here, a little more black sand. So this could be an area also that we could set up a sluice and maybe get a speck of gold out of it, or maybe not, maybe no gold, but you know, when we only got a little bit of time, we could come set up down here and maybe get some gold. But anyway, there's the testing for that spot. Let's move up past this beaver dam. There's a spot right up here at the head of this big hole that I wanted to look at. Let's go up there. Okay, we made it up to that spot I was just talking about. Tried coming up around all the knotweed there. It just got too deep. So we had to take the woods, and it's pretty thick. I got one of those, you know, those scrub apple needles. Yeah, right in my lip, and it broke off. It was right in my lip. That was a lot of fun. Anyway, we're gonna take a couple test pans in here and see what it says. Typically, there's a ripple in here, but that dam has the water so high that there's no more a ripple. There's some water up there though we can look at. See the gravel bar up there? We'll go up there too. Let me take a couple test pans right in this area though and see what we come up with. Okay, we're just sampling. It's down there the creek a ways, as far as you can see on the creek, right in that area. Some black sand, not a tremendous amount of it. No gold. But right here we came upstream, and there's that bank again. Same bank that extends down where I said there isn't much glacial gravel in it. But over here, this looks pretty good to me. This is more typical of the spots in my area where I find gold, where the gravel bars get high. Once they get high, it seems like that gold gets stuck in there, and the next flood it can retain some more and some more and some more over time. Even if it's just one speck per every flood, if it never gets washed out, that gold just retains and retains, and it can add up in spots like this. This is the kind of spot I really do my best on. So we'll take a couple test pans here. The creek has changed quite considerably. It's different than what I remember it up here. This is actually the spring hole right here. The spring comes up out of the ground underwater right there. Used to be able to find the trout in that hole during the hottest days. They'd be crowded in there sometimes, but yeah, it looks like we're getting into more More gravel bars though, steeper elevation. So anyway, let me take a couple test pans in here. We'll have a look at that and see what that looks like. Beautiful day. Okay, we're into just a little bit of proof that this spot is going to be better. You see the black sand in the corner? Yep. Especially on this corner, it's the way I spin my pan, but yep, it's looking a little better. Let's see if there's any gold. And look at that, we already got a piece of gold. I haven't even worked through it yet. I just started and there's a little flake right there, you see it? Okay, that's a pretty good sign. That's a good sign for this creek especially. Okay, I'm gonna finish this pan up and we'll take a couple more. All right, 2 flakes out of that. Not too bad at all, not too bad at all. There's one there. And then that one I showed you before. That one's just a little bit smaller, I mean. But if you're new to the channel, you're probably thinking, oh, Jesus, that ain't nothing. Yeah, but it is for my area. To even find gold in a test pan, it's kind of rare in my area. I can't specify that enough, in my area. So we'll suck those 2 up in the snuffer bottle. I'll take another pan here, and we're definitely going to come back here and do some sluicing sometime. This is pretty good. It's not too far from home either. Let me just step out here real quick, see if these ripples provide adequate pitch and flow for a sluice box, and it definitely will. You see that up there? Okay, perfect. Anyway, again, I'm going to quit running my mouth, get that sucked up. Let's take another pan. Okay, we took that first pan right there. I moved upstream on the gravel bar, probably 5 feet. Took a nice size shovel from right there. It wasn't a completely full pan, and let me show you what we got. It looks even better. The pieces are a little bit smaller, which would be typical. We got one right off the end of my finger, 2, 3, 4 pieces in that pan. That's pretty good. That's really good.